Hello. Oh, hello. Hi. Hello, everybody. Take your time, get a seat, and I'm just going to show you a little something which some of you may have already seen. Do you love dogs? Do you follow them on Facebook and Instagram? Maybe you donate to a rescue charity already, or you walk dogs for free on Borrow My Doggy. Well, how about donating to an education company that is passionate about changing the lives of dogs by educating people? This is an animal welfare campaign. We believe that every dog owner should have the right to an education about dogs, and every dog deserves an owner that's in the know. So we turned non-profit to start a campaign of education across the nation, regardless of the size of your pocket. Because really, true change for dogs can only come from educating people. This is the Dog Education Project. I'm excited about it. I don't know about you. Super exciting. Okay. Learning about dogs shouldn't cost hundreds of pounds. And if it continues to, hundreds upon thousands of hearts are going to keep breaking as they miscommunicate with their dogs and send them to rescues. More and more people, millions of people, are going to keep buying dogs from puppy farms. And this is just going to get worse and worse and worse. We have to get right down to the crux of the issue and teach human beings about dogs from the beginning. Your investment in the Dog Education Project will kickstart an education revolution in the heart of England. You might not be a fan of people, but we are. And if you really love dogs, help us love their owners, because if we don't, nothing's going to change. My name's Hannah Molloy. I have 10 years experience running a training and behaviour company in the heart of Birmingham. I was the Dogs Trust training and behavioural advisor, and I have a degree in animal behaviour. I love people and I love dogs. And I'm going to fix this, because it needs fixing! I'm so sorry, I totally ruined that. Hi everyone, welcome to the Dog Education Project launch party, and it's really great to see you. And I just thought I'd start by raising a glass to all of you. If you would, raise a glass and give each other a clink. This has been sponsored, the drinks and delicious nibbles have been sponsored by a lovely company called Dog Games, who do perfect fit harnesses. So let's just cheers Dog Games. Cheers to you, Dog Games. Thank you so much. Lord love them. Right, so why on earth have you given up your Friday night to come and talk to lots of other dog professionals and have a lovely time, hopefully? We've got a great speaker later, but I just thought I'd start by introducing this project to you, really. The only reason that we're all standing here or sitting here today is that lots of people have invested their money and time into donating money to the Dog Education Project. And what we're hoping to do is provide you as pet professionals and the public with lots and lots and lots of free things, including free seminars and education, because we are massively passionate about educating people about doggies. So a little bit about me and why I'm here. This is what I do. I'm not going to talk through it, but you can read it. Some of the reasons why I am standing on stage and talking to you today. I have a degree in animal behaviour, and really let's just start with that. In terms of animal behaviour, if you study animal behaviour, the beautiful thing about looking at behaviour is that what you start to do is not judge it as right or wrong. If you're looking at animal behaviour, you look at things in terms of whether they're functional or non-functional. And throughout the course of this evening, I'm going to throw some ideas at you. And what I'd really like you to try and do for us this evening is get rid of the idea of right and wrong or good and bad as we start to challenge the dog world. Because you guys, every single one of you in this room, has an incredibly important job. In whatever you do, you're all different, wonderfully different. You all do different types of work with dogs. And I think the hardest thing, isn't it, if you love your industry, is that you don't get to hang out with other people who do stuff with dogs. So what I'd like is for you guys to just take 2 minutes now and turn to somebody that you don't know and just introduce yourselves. So if you just turn around, say hello, and shake a hand with somebody who you don't already know. I'm going to give you 5, just give it a go. Luscious. Take a seat for me, folks. So my hope is by the end of the evening that you've made some new dog friends, because that's really important. We need to be supportive of each other no matter what. You might not all agree with each other on certain topics. You might not all agree about the way that things are in the dog world, but I think we can all agree that we all in this room have one thing in common, and that is that we love dogs, or pets. In this particular case, dogs. And you all have that in common. You all hopefully got into the industry of dogs because you care about dogs. And some of you have learnt to care about people through that journey. I know I have. I got into animal behaviour because I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And then I came out of uni and realised that that's actually a little bit base and I couldn't do that. I had a higher moral standard by that point and thought, actually, just training dolphins, I'm not going to change the world by doing that. And I came across a study that was done by an amazing charity called the Medical Detection Dogs. Raise your hand if you've heard of Medical Detection Dogs for me. Yeah, they're getting out there. And they proved something that for me was utterly groundbreaking. We've had dogs for tens of thousands of years, but it was medical detection dogs that proved that dogs could smell cancer with their nose. And I thought that was a really big point in my life. I didn't know what I was going to do or what I was going to study. I could have just become a general animal behaviourist and dealt with, horses or rabbits that were a bit thumpy, and just looked into all animal behaviour. But it was that charity that made me go, what? Dogs are amazing. And let's just think about that for 2 seconds. So dogs have the physical capacity to smell disease in your body before human tests can prove that it's there. Isn't that mental? And that said to me that actually dogs and humans have been walking together for tens of thousands of years. They've been hanging out with us and sniffing us and walking next to us for so long that they can tell the difference between a healthy person and an unhealthy person. And not just that the relationship that exists between dogs and humans that has developed over this period of time is such that dogs know that they can tell us about it. That was my second groundbreaker. Dogs believe that we will understand when they communicate with us. And a little dog came up to a person and said, "Excuse me, you smell weird. I think you need to sort that out." Isn't that incredible? And then that human beings are sensitive enough again to look at the dog and go, "I think my dog's trying to tell me something." That's amazing, And so that kick-started my journey in studying dogs, really, as a species. I thought there's loads of dog trainers in the world. The world doesn't need another dog trainer. But the more that I learned about the dog world and how we are training dogs and how we're learning about dogs, I was like, wow, actually, people don't know how sensitive dogs are. They really don't. You'd be amazed. You guys do. You guys do know. And you guys, in your own individual capacities, are teaching people to have a deeper respect for dogs, to have a deeper understanding and love and learning of dogs. So that's where I got to. I thought, do you know what? We need to start looking at the world of dogs. And what I realised when you start studying dogs is that you can't study dogs without studying humans because we're stuck together. We're in a symbiotic relationship now. Dogs are pretty stuck, you might say, because they can't live anywhere anymore. Their natural environment, if I was to study any other animal, and I go, oh, you live in the forest, that's nice. What temperature should it be for you? What kind of food do you need to eat? With dogs, their natural environment is our houses. So we have a really high-level responsibility to make sure that our houses and the people that take on dogs have a really high level of knowledge about dog behaviour, about dog nutrition, about dog learning, about dog psychology. So we run a company, and I came out of uni and I studied dogs and I went into loads of courses and I read all of the books. And really, again, I'm not trying to look at like right and wrong. I find human behaviour just as fascinating as I find dog behaviour. And when you take off the hat of morality, of right and wrong, if you stop trying to put things in boxes if I agree or I disagree, and just look at human behaviour and go, this is what it is. What I want to do tonight for you guys is just show you what's happening already, where we're at, really, what we're up to in terms of humans. So we started a company, Pawfect Dogsense, and I started to do some sort of guerrilla dog behavioural therapy. I'm quite loud, and so what I did was go into public parks in Birmingham and walk up to people and go, can I show you how I can train your dog? I'd like to just give it a go. Do you want to come into the training ring? I'm going to show you a bit about clicker training and see if I can invite you into a happier training relationship. As it stands, there's still loads of people that use negative reinforcement and positive punishment with training. So there's lots of people that believe really fundamentally that the way to have a good relationship with a dog is by making sure that it is a slave and you're its master. You know, and this is only in the last 100 years. Our cultural idea of dogs has been infectious, and people will pass on information to each other. Humans are really good at doing this, and suddenly things that, you know, the fake news idea, right? Fake news only works because people pass on information, and we don't check the source, and we don't think about where that idea has come from or whether it's relevant in this day and age. So some of the things that we do are really pushing and encouraging people to think about advanced socialization for puppies. We want people to get into puppy training at 8 weeks, really. Start training your puppy at 8 weeks. In an ideal world, I would love to get breeders training the puppies before they've even gone home, you know. You can crate train and separate puppies a little bit, not for very long, with a lovely Kong or something delicious, and get them used to some of the things they're going to have to deal with before they go home. So that's the dream. But for now, we've been looking at encouraging people to go on social walks with each other and hang out with each other and build community. We are massive advocates for teaching people about canine body language. When I worked for Dogs Trust, I found that the biggest reason that dogs were coming home or coming back to the rescue centre after we'd sent them out to good places was actually that people didn't understand how to read dog body language. They didn't know that when a dog rolls over on its back, sometimes it's saying, can you please give me some space? And so they come back and say, well, Hannah, I was tickling its tummy and it bit me. Oh, that's because that information is wrong. Whose fault is that? It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. They didn't know. You can't tell somebody off if they don't know. How can somebody be responsible if they don't know how to be responsible? Do you see what I mean? So I saw a really big issue when I worked at Dogs Trust, which was that I can't fix this problem here. I can't stay in a rescue centre and fix the issues that happen in human education. So I left the Dogs Trust and I started Pawfect Dogsense, and we've got a really lovely company with some really lovely people who have learned how to just be really compassionate to human beings, because that's what it's all about, right? You can't teach positive reinforcement to dogs and not do it with people. You have to do it that way around. So, whose problem is this dog? This one. Look at his face. Look at that little puppy face. It's the cutest puppy in the world. And this puppy is at a point of its life where it is going, I don't know what's happening now. I'm not with my mum anymore. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to do. Whose problem is this dog? Put your hand up if you take responsibility for this dog. Yeah, right? You all do. You actually all do, in some capacity or other. And the thing with dogs, and this is the biggest issue in our industry, is that everybody has to take responsibility for dogs, whether you own them or not, actually. Human beings created dogs. They don't live in a natural environment anymore. They are our problem. They are our species, you know. They are so honed to us, they will never be split apart again. And in different countries, it's different, isn't it? There are stray dog populations. They can move around and they can talk to each other. But in England, they have to live with us. So it's really important that we understand them as much as they understand us. And this is the difficulty, actually, is that when you look at a puppy like this, he's got so much hope in his eyes. Look, it's like anything could happen in my life. I could have had the best life ever. And I really hope that you're a nice person that's bought me and that you know lots about dogs. The fact of the matter is, I've spent 10 years learning about dogs, and I know a lot about dogs, give or take. You guys know an awful lot about dogs too. But it shouldn't be so hard or so expensive to give a dog a really good quality of life. Would you agree with me? You know, this is the problem. In order to really understand your dog and feed it well and train it well, you know, actually a lot of dog trainers become dog trainers because they spend thousands of pounds learning about dog behaviour. So they go, well, I have to get my investment back and become a dog trainer. And my argument is this: if schools are free, then surely so should dog training. they're part of our community, you know? So really, whose problem is this dog? Well, it's the kennel club's problem, isn't it? If it's a breeder, the breeder will say, well, I have to sign up to the kennel club, and the kennel club will take the money, and then the kennel club dismiss responsibility for this dog. Yeah. If you are a vet, then you will look after this dog when it's sick. You will look after this dog if you're a dog trainer. That's when it'll be your responsibility to look after this puppy and make sure it's well brought up in things. And then after that, we pass that responsibility of that dog onto the dog walker. The dog walkers take them out and they have to suck up all of the problems that come from parents who haven't socialised their dogs very well. And now you've got 5 or 6 or 7 dogs off lead together and you go, wow, you have no manners or boundaries. Okay, cool. Right, and then it's the dog walker's problem. And then after that, who does it go to? It will go to the behaviourist when it's broken or it's not had the right level of socialisation, or the owners have just forgotten about, you know, actually continuing to interact with their dog every day, and it gets sick and it comes to the behaviourist. It's then, you know, maybe it's the dog warden's problem. If it goes right down the line and people totally relinquish responsibility altogether, then it's the dog warden, then it's the council's problem, okay? So this dog is actually a lot of people's problem. It's the groomer's problem when the owner realises that, oh, actually, I haven't been brushing my dog at all. I'm just going to need to take it to the groomer and you can just shave it because I really don't know how to do daily pet care because it's not something we teach, you know? And then when it's being to all of those people, it's the public's problem when it bites someone. And then it's the rescue's problem when it ends up in rescue, okay? And it doesn't take very much to turn this dog into this dog. Different breed, fair play, he's grown a lot more hair. And this is the biggest issue, I think, is that we're not educating, we're not setting people up to succeed. In dog training, you make sure that people have got the skills they need to have the relationship that is ideal. And we're not setting people up to succeed. And so this dog started to go, do you know what? You said you love me. You said you wanted a dog, right? You said you wanted to go on long walks and have loads of fun. Why do you keep watching this telly? Like, it's driving me mental. And after a while, if this dog's, you know, boundary issue really isn't managed, then it becomes this dog. And this is the worst thing, you know? We live in a really disposable society. We are actually actively encouraged in this economy to buy things that break and then buy new things. Like, that's a human problem. This is what we're hardwired to do, is buy stuff and then break it and then buy new stuff. But we're doing this with dogs now, and that's really tricky, you know? And I want you to just have a little look at this dude's eyes. Totally different facial expression to the previous dog that we saw, that puppy, because this dog has kind of lost hope. And what we're doing as a culture is investing quite a heavy amount of money into dealing with this dog, when what I really want everybody to do is invest money in this dog, you know? We have to invest money in all dogs, but if we all looked after this dog really well, he would never be that one, you know? Am I right? So throughout this talk, and Nick's talk as well, in front of you, you've got some Post-it notes and you've got some pieces of lined paper. And I've got you in here under the guise of getting you drunk and giving you lots of nibbles, but in fact, it's a public consultation. And what I'd like you to do is feedback, okay? Right now, I'm about to tell you the issues that I see in the behavioural industry, because what we need to do as a group of people is look at the problem that exists before we can find solutions to fix it. So as we're talking, in fact, right now, I just want you to get a pen and a piece of paper and write down one thing, you don't have to get up and move it, one thing that if the public were educated, or your staff were educated, or somebody was educated, could be fixed. One thing that you have an issue with. And throughout the course of the evening, if you look at the back, there are some big whiteboards on those walls over there, and there's lots of different categories of industry. And at any point, you have a light bulb moment and go, oh, hold on a minute, yeah, she's totally right, and I could write something down about that. I want you to just go down to the back and just stick it in the relevant place. If you want to leave an anonymous comment and write it down, you can stick it in the box that is just over there as well. Please as well, feel free to get up and move around and get another bev and get some food and sit down again. I train puppies, so I'm used to things being quite chaotic and moving a lot. So yeah, just take a couple minutes and have a little think about that one. You guys are the future. This is what you should remember. You guys are the future of happier dogs. And dogs are amazing, aren't they? If we think about it, dogs have been trained for about 30,000 years to lead the blind, to look after the sick when they're not feeling very well, to find stuff, explosives, people. You know, they've got an incredible schnoz. We expect them to guard our homes. We expect them to guard our families and our sheep. We expect them to do so much for us. And when they're not doing that, we ask them to do therapy work and go and hang out with sick people. And when they've completely lost all use, actually being a pet is probably the tallest order for most dogs. Because if you're a pet, your job is to just sit there, isn't it? That's the hardest job that we've ever trained a dog to do, is be a pet dog. I just want you to sit there and let me touch you because I've had a really hard day at work. We don't train dogs to be pet dogs, really. And we've got a whole nation of lots of different kinds of breeds of dog who are all bred to do a particular job, which is really tricky because they don't do those jobs anymore. And God bless dogs, look. You know, they do all of that work for us. And then when we've run out of tasks to give them to do, we will test drugs on them, we will eat them, and we will shoot them into space, you know? So my argument for dogs is, well, what's in it for the dog? Really, in having a relationship with us, what is in it for the dog? And what I want you to think about as this season goes through, and for all of the talks that you're going to get for the Dog Education Project, and we're going to keep promoting and creating more free talks for you, is what is the future of dogs? What do we want? What do we want to have happen? So, there are 8.6 million dogs in the UK. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a bit of a weird graph. I'm sorry about these numbers. But this is just a bit of a comparison, really, with the rest of Europe. So these are how many dogs are in other European countries. I find it really interesting because a lot of these countries are countries that we rescue dogs from and bring into the UK. And they have far fewer than we do, a lot of these countries, anyway, to start with. But we are a nation of dog lovers. We love dogs. There's 70 million dogs, by the way, in the USA. That's mad, isn't it? That's massive. A couple of dog stats, as I'm sure you guys are well aware of. Every 1 in 4 homes has a dog. So 25% of the UK's population have a dog. That's a lot of dogs, isn't it? And you might say, no, Hannah, it's not, because it's not even half. But actually, if 1 in 4 houses have a dog, and you think about our public parks, that's loads of dogs, isn't it? So actually, is next door neighbour's dog your problem? 100%. They're walking in your parks. They're hanging out with your kids in the street. They're 100% your problem. There are 9 million dogs, according to this one, in the UK. I rounded it up. And the pet industry, the UK pet industry, has £5 billion in it. Isn't that an amazing number? And really the point of this here is just to show you that when it comes to resources, they're right there. You know, we love dogs. Dog industry as a thing is the only thing that is unaffected by recession. You know, the recession hit, people weren't eating properly, they weren't going shopping, you know, they cancelled their Sky subscription, but they fed the dog, you know. So we love our dogs. We are a nation of dog lovers, and this is totally, totally doable. And there were 150,000 cruelty to complaints to the RSPCA, which doesn't seem like much, actually. It's a lot of cruelty complaints. But compared to 9 million dogs, it's not that many. The problem is with that statistic is what you don't realise is that those ones that called up were in serious trouble. And what I see, and I'm sure some of you see in your industries, is dogs who aren't in serious trouble, but definitely aren't happy in the situations that they're in, and quite quickly could get into serious trouble. And this is a really scary statistic, that the majority of dogs that are destroyed under 3 years old have behavioural problems. That's why we kill things, because they don't behave properly. And again, I really don't want you to think about this in terms of fault. Some of these things are a bit sad, but I want to give you guys the hope that a lot of this can change. It can totally change. We just have to think about our behaviour. It's our behaviour that's creating this problem, right? This is our problem. And believe it or not, the breed most likely to bite is the Labrador. Nobody saw that come in. There's a lot of Labradors in the UK. But there you go. Actually, it's not the breeds that you would expect. It's not those BAM breeds. It's not the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. It's their flipping Labrador. God bless him. Yes, say again.
Is it because the Labrador is the highest number owned dog?
Good question. Yeah, it's a very good point. So the question was, is it because it's the most highly owned, and it's likely, isn't it? This is the problem with statistics, is they are a bit mangled one side or other. There are 50,000 Labradors, I think, in the UK, was the statistic that I saw last night. That's a lot of Labradors. And also, I think it comes down to the problem that we think of it as the classic family pet, isn't it, the Labrador? I don't know how many people have got Labradors because they've said, oh, it's a good family dog. It's your go-to good dog, 100% good dog. And actually, the reason that most dogs are biting of those Labradors is due to resource guarding, is due to people taking stuff off the dogs. How many of you have met a Labrador that's met you at the door with a toy in its mouth? Right? And that is a really natural behaviour. That is what a Labrador was bred to do. And the amount of people who go, give it me then, and the Lab goes, no, I need to hold it. I have to hold it. I really, it's like deeply embedded in me that I have to put this in my mouth, you know? So this is a resource guarding issue. This is basic canine science. You don't understand that the dog feels the need to hold the toy, to soothe itself, to calm itself down again. And this is human education. This is totally fixable. So I put this slide up because I want you to see here, this is not in any way a dig at any point, nor a comparison. These are the two biggest charities that deal with dogs in the UK. You know, these are the two biggest organisations that have the most funding to make the most difference, and they all do amazing work. They are working tirelessly. Having worked in rescue, I can promise you it is not fun, and anybody who works in a rescue centre gets my hat taken off to them because it's hard work. I'm sure some of you have worked in rescue and been involved in rescue. This is really an opportunity to show you, again, the resources that are available. So RSPCA got £140 million last year, and they are dealing with everything, you know, every single animal. And they had 114,000 rescues that they spent that money on. So that's how many animals across the board that they helped, and 7,000 of those were dogs. Dogs trusted 15,000 dogs, which is great. That's absolutely amazing work. It's about double the amount the RSPCA are doing, and they're specifically focusing on dogs. And the Dogs Trust got £106 million last year. The interesting thing that I found when I looked at the annual accounts is that how they spend that money, you know. So a lot of the time, because we have these big institutions, there's something deep in us that wants to maintain them. And at the moment, what is happening is the RSPCA is spending £5 million on campaigns and education. That's a lot of money. But it's not a lot of money if you look at 140 million. That's 5 million. And they spent 44 on their centres and hospitals, which are doing incredibly important and valuable work. As did Dogs Trust. They spent £55 million on rehoming last year and maintaining those rehoming centres. But again, they only spent £6 million on prevention. And my argument is this, like, if we've got this much money to invest in dogs, why are we doing it at the wrong end of the scale, you know? Should we be constantly, this is how I felt when I was at Dogs Trust anyway, I'm just fighting fire. You know, I'm making that dog slightly happy, put it in a good home, come on, bring in another sad case, you poor thing, how are you feeling? Would you like a Kong? Give it a Kong, give it a behavioural modification programme, put it in a home, get another one in. It's not fixing the problem, do you know? Because we're creating this problem. And what blew my mind a little bit was the amount, if you work it out, 15,000 dogs, and we're spending £55 million on 15,000 dogs. That means the Dogs Trust is spending £3,500 on every dog. Like, that's what we're encouraging, is £3,500 on every dog. If we spent £3,500 on every dog at the beginning, it never would have got into a rescue centre. Do you see? So it's neither right nor wrong. Like, this is just human behaviour. And what I really want you to do tonight is just look at human behaviour, because we are so good at trying to find fault because it's so much easier than taking it on board ourselves and saying, well, that's okay, what could I do about it? I live in a little street in King's Heath, and it was really funny the other day. One of my neighbours was saying to me, there's a little road at the back of all of our gardens, and it's been locked off with a padlock. And she said, it's ridiculous. One guy came from the council, no offence, council, I know some of you are here. The council came and, like, they did some work in the back of someone's garden, and they put a new padlock on it and didn't give anyone the key. Ridiculous. And I was like, that is ridiculous. How long ago was that? They said 9 years ago. Okay. So why has nobody just changed the lock and given everybody a key? Like, come on. What is ridiculous is the fact that we don't ever, when we fault find, go, well, what am I doing to fix that problem? What can I do to change that situation? Because if we keep just pointing the finger and going, that's ridiculous, isn't it? Huh. It's been like that for 9 years. It takes one of the 22 houses on my road to just take that padlock off and give everybody a key. And that is exactly what I want to do in the dog world. That's it. All I want to do here is break the padlock off old ways of thinking and give people a new key, you know? But this is absolutely ridiculous if it's just my perspective from what is going on in the world. And that is why you are here right now. You're here because you love dogs and because you want to see Nick Thompson, who is coming. But you're here because you care. You care enough to be here on a Friday night and clink a glass and talk to other dog professionals. You care in your industry, and I know there's like a deep sense of hopelessness that we all individually get when we see a problem sort of snowball. But I can promise you that that problem will be fixed if we work together to fix it. It is as simple as that. So that is what the Dog Education Project is. This is why I am here. The Dog Education Project is an opportunity to change that record, to break that padlock and start a new story for dogs. Simple as that. If we had one body of education for the nation that had lots and lots and lots of different, incredibly well-informed individuals from different professions working together to solve this problem, we would solve it. We're really lucky because this generation lives at a time where a piece of information can be sent across the world in a second. You know, an idea can go viral. David Attenborough, God bless him, and the team at Blue Planet got rid of plastic straws. Who saw that coming? I didn't see that coming. That was amazing, and it's happened. I mean, yeah, we're scraping the edge off a massive snowball of problem with plastic, but it's very similar in the dog world, and this is just the start, hopefully, of better things to come. So you're here today to learn, you know, think about something new and learn something new from one of our speakers, and we're going to keep putting free education events on for everybody. This video is going to be available online, so anybody can watch this from any walk of life and learn a little bit more about the problem and really think about what they can do to fix it. So this is our new response to our old problem. And the thing is, the problem at the moment is that what we're dealing with when the RSPCA and the Dogs Trust, who are working incredibly hard, go into communities to fix problems. The problems that they're focusing on at the moment are these. So responsible dog ownership, whatever that means. Responsible dog ownership. We all have to be responsible for our dogs. And that also means being really fearful of other people and making sure they're on leads and being really nervous around people, and don't let your dog off lead with other dogs, and make sure you've got a poo bag, and make sure you've got insurance, and is your microchip up to date. And all of these things are incredibly important, but we're not really looking at the dog. We're not looking at talking to our doggies or finding information that is deeper. So being a responsible dog owner, I think we need to be a responsible dog owning population, you know, a responsible dog owning country. And we're doing this at the moment by doing puppy training schemes, which are incredible. Dogs Trust has got a new puppy school, and they're spreading those out everywhere, and that's so important. They have highlighted that the problem here is that we're not teaching puppies properly, because if we socialise them well, they never get into rescue. And then they do things like child safety schemes, which again are really important, but in my experience are pretty heavily reliant on trying to teach children not to be fearful by being a bit scary. Be dog safe, because they will bite if you're not safe around them. Make sure you touch them in the right area. Again, I think we just need to look at sort of revolutionising the way these things are taught. I believe in people. I believe that people have the common sense if you give them the opportunity to learn a new way of communicating with a dog. And back in the day, in the 70s, when there were loads of stray dogs, people used to let their kids and dogs out at the same time, be like, they'll be home for tea, simple as that. Actually, people were a little bit more savvy about dogs because they were hanging around on the street. And you wouldn't just go walk up and touch a dog because you didn't know who that dog was. People were almost more respectful, although they knew less about dogs. They were more respectful of dogs' personal space. And what we've got now is a nation of dogs who are on leads, and so people can go, ah, ha, 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 and just come and touch this captive audience. And so now what we've got to do is go, no, 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 stay away from my dog, and block children from getting to dogs until they've learned how to communicate. And that makes the child go, oh, why are you being so freaky? I just wanted to say hello. So I think it is really about just giving people confidence, actually, giving people confidence and opportunities to interact with dogs and have a little bit of common sense about it. And then we focus on microchipping and spay and neuter, which are, again, really important. But this is the problem, actually. These problems are sort of obvious problems, you know? They're things that we can legislate over. They're things that we can do that are little, spay, neuter, microchip, make sure that everybody's dog is owned by a person. Actually, a lot of this is to do with fault finding. It's to be able to say that we can find the person whose fault that is and say, that's your fault, you know? This is the problem. There is so much wrong with this picture, and I know some of you are smirking, and the first time you see it, you do kind of go, oh, but not really. Because I cannot even, like, this is the problem with the world right now, you know? This dog has become an accessory, literally. We've put our two favourite things together, technology and dogs, and totally forgotten to look at his face, which, if we look back, has exactly the same facial expression. Look at his eyes. Is it cute? Not so much. Not so much. Like, what we've started to do is say that dogs are disposable and accessories. And really, this is a cultural issue, you know? There's so many YouTube videos and things like that talk about myths, actually, that exist in the dog world, like the look of guilt, the idea that a dog knows when it's done something wrong, you know? There's whole schemes that are available that you can watch about guilty-looking dogs. And this is a really difficult thing to fix because, you know, I've put a bandana on my dog. I'm sure some of you in the room have dressed your dogs up. I'm sure you have. But the thing is that dogs know when you're laughing at them. They do. Like, they're social species. They can feel it. If you're like, ah, the dog's like, why are you doing this to me? This is totally unfair and unnecessary. And this is, like, deeply imbued in our culture now. Like, we don't even think about it. It's just funny. It's clickbait. It's funny. It's shareable. And we're not thinking about, like, what is the future for either this breed of dog or, most importantly, this breed of human mentality. This is cray-cray, right? Am I right? So what is the problem here, right? The problem is that we're miscommunicating with dogs and with each other, and that there's a massive diffusion of responsibility, that no one person is taking responsibility for the future of dogs. When I studied animal behaviour at uni, and I was looking at lots of different kinds of species, I found it amazing how much time and effort is put into conserving different species of animal. You know, there's so many different species of animal, and we spend loads of money making sure that we've designed their conservation strategy. So what is the conservation strategy for dogs? What are we going to do? Where do you want them to be in the future? Because really, I think the problem here is that all of these cultural trends exist. And again, they're not right or wrong. They just are. They just are. These are things that are happening. We have designer dogs. We are perpetuating dominance theory. People think of their dogs as fur babies. We don't really know how we're feeding dogs or what we're feeding dogs. We're not thinking we just blanket spay neuter everything. That is a serious problem. The body of the dog is incredibly important, and every bit does a different thing for a reason. We have things like BSL, you know, breed-specific legislation. I would so change that to behaviour-specific legislation. We are obsessed with social media and putting our dogs all over it. And our kids, actually, and not spending time and interacting and engaging with our pets anymore. We don't really know that much about dog body language. We don't think about breed choice and the rescue culture that we have, which is amazing. We do need to keep up our rescue centres and support them and keep donating to rescue because they do really important work. But if we don't change the idea of adopt, don't shop, we will always adopt and we'll never shop properly, you know? We are in a disposable generation, and there's a whole bunch of people who just sit online and just keyboard warrior it and just point out all the problems that exist in the world, which, you know, is a way of us being able to vent, and it's great. But until we get productive and try and create solutions here, nothing's ever going to change, right? Most importantly, we're undereducated. As a population, we are undereducated. If you asked the average person what they know about dogs, they say, waggy tail, happy dog. You go, okay. That's like me saying putting the hand in the air means that I'm greeting you. That's so simple. It's such a huge bit of kit, and it does so many different things. You know, just to say waggy tail, happy dog. Well, he was wagging and then he bit me. Oh, yeah, not so happy. So we really need to look at this. We really need to start to educate people a little bit better and decide what things are the most important things for us to change first. And fundamentally it is. It's a human problem, right? This is our problem. They're our dogs, you know. What's going to happen in the next 15 to 20 years? That's up to us. Fully and completely up to us. Because really, if you think about who has the power to change this situation, the politics and philanthropists will pay in and change based on the opinions of the professionals. That's you. That's all of you. Every single one of you, okay? They will do what we think is the right thing to do. But we're not talking to each other. You know? And this is a big problem again. The problem with our industry is that we are focused on earning money and getting our brand out there and being the best and having a really high Instagram following and like being really well loved and having our product be the best product. And they don't know how to listen to us because we're all arguing with each other, you know, or fighting with each other and vying for attention. So until we can sit down and chat to each other properly, the politicians are just going to say, don't know, we'll just do some dog legislation and not ask anybody about it. Because who do we ask anyway? Who is the top professional? It's a mixed bag, isn't it? We've all got massively different levels of experience, but they're all so useful. They're all so relevant. If you know something about dogs, go and share it with somebody else. And then you've got the public who have preference and choice, and they are the biggest world-changing factor in changing the world for dogs, okay? And right in the middle, there's us. So we are the connecting factor, the people who know about dogs, between the politicians and the philanthropists investing in change and the public being able to change their behaviour. Okay? So what I would really love, and I'm going to wrap it up because I want to give you guys 15 minutes of chill time before you get to see the amazing Nick Thompson, is to just have a clean slate. In 15 years from now, all of the dogs that we know probably won't be here anymore. But then there'll be some new dogs. And then there'll be some new dogs after that. So in 15 years from now, we could change a lot of things, you know? David Attenborough did it in one TV show. We can do this in a very short space of time if we work together. So I would love to change breed-specific BSL from breed-specific legislation to behaviour-specific legislation, which is complicated because what that means is we've got to train the police and the councils to be able to recognise behaviour and temperament. And then we'd need to create a temperament test and a training test and legislate for particular kinds of behaviour and provide streams of education that are loving and everywhere so that people can temper and change temperaments that are not ideal. You know, that's what needs to happen to change that legislation, because it's not about the breed of dog, if you ask me. It's about the behaviour of the dog. That's really important. I've met some terrifying chihuahuas, absolutely, run for my life. You know, it's not just the big scary ones who've got a thick head. I think training classes should be free, right? People should be able to speak to their dogs. People don't know how to speak dog. I think that's basic. How can you have a dog and not know how it's communicating with you? Dogs are so good at hiding pain. If you don't know what your dog is using its body to say to you, how do you know if it's not feeling very well? Because they're really good at hiding that information from us, you know? And I would sort this puppy farm crisis over. I would just sort it out. You know, the reason that we've got a puppy farm crisis is that when you go to a rescue centre, they say you can't have a puppy because you've got a 3-year-old, so go away. And so they go, okay, I'll just go on pre-loved and get myself a puppy because I live in the Amazon generation and I want it tomorrow, you know, and I want that one because it's cute. And so there are some really deeply imbued human behaviours here that we've got to sort out, picking a dog because of what it looks like rather than how it behaves. We only do that because we don't know as a generation, as a population, what a good or happy dog looks like compared to an unhappy dog or a badly socialised one. And, you know, we really just need to educate people who go buy puppies. What I'd love to do is introduce a scheme called the pre-trained puppy scheme. so that we teach breeders how to do lots of socialisation with puppies before they go home, and then we slap them with a sticker that says, you are a pre-trained puppy breeder. And then we do another scheme for the buyers that's called Prove Your Price Tag. So anybody that goes to buy a puppy can say, why is this puppy worth this much money? What have you done in order for this puppy to cost this much money? Is it just because its mum was at Crufts? Because in terms of temperament, that's not going to tell me much. Do you see what I mean? And these are some of the things that I would consider to be the dream, to be able to change breed biology so that dogs are able to breathe properly, walk properly, not have hair going into their eyes, to start to teach people how to do force-free handling. If you're a vet who works with exotic animal species, you are so much safer than a pet vet because they are in a cage and we teach them, we train them to come up and offer behaviour so that you can take blood from a tiger because it's been target trained to stand on a target while you do these kinds of checks, because we haven't got any other choice except to dart it, And yet our pets, who we have in our homes because they're easy and biddable and easy to train, we have to hold them down, put a towel over their head, muzzle them, knock them out in order to do really basic veterinary procedure. If you're a vet or a groomer, you should be able to turn around to your clients and say, can I touch him? I'm not doing it then. If he won't let me touch him, I'm not doing it. Go away and learn how to teach your dog to be confident with touch. That's a really simple thing to do. It just takes a little bit of practice and encouraging people to do it. And I would get free community training classes out there. I want breeders and buyers to be able to understand how to go shopping and how to breed properly. So this is the tip of the iceberg of the dog problem, and I really want your feedback about what you think could change in the world, because the way we're going to do this, it starts right now by establishing some support to create a peer-reviewed ambassador panel, the sort of UN for dogs, if you will, of people who care enough that are not about profit, that are saying, look, I will stand up for dogs forever and make sure that they are well respected across the world. We can start with the UK for now, hey? Create some funding channels so that we can roll these education programs out to people and then just get some changes in fashion. There's companies in the world who specifically specialize in changing behavior. They even change votes in things like elections and stuff. There's companies who spend billions of pounds trying to work out what you want to buy from what shop. So there's people who are specialists in human behavior, and we can change human behavior. We just need to focus on which bits need to go and which bits we want to keep, right? And then we just need a professional distribution network. So hopefully over time, we're going to encourage people to jump in on the dog education project and want to get the information that has been created and peer-reviewed out to as many people as possible. Over on the table in a bit, when you get some time to mooch about, there are some posters. Some of you might have been sent them. If you haven't, please do take them. There are starts. There are puppy development posters, and they plot the development of a puppy from the beginning until 18 months old, the behaviours that you can expect, and the things that you can do with that puppy at that age. And you can take those and give them out to anybody you like. And what we'd love is for people to invest so we can give these out to everybody, so that everybody's got a development chart and they can see how their puppy's getting on. So this is stage one. What we're going to do today, hopefully, is diagnose some of the problems. I really want you to get your thinking caps on. This is not just about listening today. This is about putting your 2 pence in, 5 pence. Give me a tenner. Why not? Okay? And tell us what you want to have change in this generation. Because really, all we need to do is empower people to let them know that they have the permission to change the world. They're allowed. They're fully allowed. Every single one of you. Every single dog owner that you know. Every single client of yours can change the way that dogs are treated in the future. And irresponsible dog owners, and this is the key here, cannot be blamed for things they do not know. Stupid people, I love stupid people. Stupid people don't know something, so I can teach them that thing. Ignorant people, ignorant, are ignoring the problem, okay? And we make the assumption quite often that people are being ignorant when in fact they're not. They genuinely don't know yet. And you can't blame somebody for not knowing something yet unless you've taught it to them. And even then, if they haven't taken it on, I'm like, right, well, what other way can I find to make you take on this concept? Because that is my job, is to change human behaviour so I can change dog behaviour, So let's start with some free education. I'm going to give you 10 minutes or so, go and have a chill. And in a minute, you're going to meet the lovely Nick Thompson, who's going to talk to you about all things Nick Thompson. I'm not even going to prep you. We can start with some free education. We can start by creating videos and resources. And I would love, at the end of this session, to have a manifesto of ideas from you who work with dogs every day, who work with people who work with dogs every day. What would you change about the world of canine education? I'm Hannah Molloy. It's been really lovely to speak to you all, and I'm going to clink you with a glass of Prosecco at the end. Thank you very much.